I want to go back to the prophet Habakkuk, who I talked about just a bit when we were thinking about joy. So Habakkuk, this minor prophet, Old Testament, 600 BC, he is writing during a time when everything is going wrong. And he's very frustrated, and he calls out on God, God, you need to fix things. And he's actually very, very frustrated with the series of bad kings that the southern two tribes, the northern 10 tribes of Israel have already been run over by the Assyrians. The southern two tribes are now suffering. They got a series of bad kings. And Habakkuk, who's a priest, he's a prophet, which means he speaks for God to the people. Priests speak for people to God. Habakkuk, who is a prophet, is frustrated that God isn't doing something. And so he complains about it, and God says, I got this. I'm sending the Babylonians, and they're going to judge Judah. And then Habakkuk is all up in arms because he's like, that doesn't make any sense. The Babylonians are actually worse than we are. You can't send the Babylonians. That doesn't make any sense. And that's sort of the tension that is going to get worked out in the book of Habakkuk. And at the end, remember, he settles into joy, even though it looks bad. So he's got to proclaim to the people that things are going to get worse. He's going to say to them, like, lots of bad things are going to be happening because of our sin and our lack of following God in our righteousness. And so what he does, though, because I'm talking about hope, what he does is that he doesn't ignore the circumstances. He faces the circumstances. He says all these things are bad and they're going to get worse. But he also holds on to hope because he is looking at God. He is looking at the promises of God. He's looking at the promises of God and trusting that God is going to work these things out past the present circumstances. And so you can read Habakkuk, and it sometimes strikes me as Habakkuk sounds like he's singing a country western song. Everything is going wrong, and my wife left me, and my truck broke down, and the dog died, and all that stuff. But what he pivots around to in the end is he is focusing on God and on God's character, and in light of that, he is a person of hope and joy. If you're looking at your circumstances, you may or may not be happy right now. I don't know. But if you're looking at God, there is hope and joy that is available to you. And so we have to wrestle with our soul. We have to focus our attention. We have to figure out how to rightly order our lives, our loves, our fears. We need to order them according to Scripture in order to have a life that is buoyed by hope and by joy, love, and peace. Be hopeful today.